Hello, Harold Campos. Thank you for joining me today. Been looking forward to have this conversation with you. I've been talking a lot lately about migration and logic app, and that's what's currently I'm focusing on now, and like all the aspects of the migration projects and what technology is involved and all of this. So I figured that there is no better than you out there talking about this. I have my knowledge, but I would like to confirm them with someone like you. So thank you for joining me today.
No, Ahmed, thank you so much for having me here. I mean, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, and I think hopefully this topic is going to be of interest for for the field and for everybody who's using BizTalk and is trying to modernize to Logic Apps as well.
Yeah, be great to hear. So, what our talk today will be about migration from BizTalk to Azure, and like Azure at like overall, and then we will be focusing about some components. But there is the big elephant in the room now that a lot of people asking about is the Logic App Hybrid. That's like closer to the BizTalk, I think, in a way, but it also has its own challenges. So you had some slides here that you would like to show us. Just as you said, as I was just mentioning, it's like the Logic App Hybrid is one of the hot topics out there now because some maybe are confused with it. They think it's totally offline. Is it what do I need to learn? What should I? How should I approach this model? Will it help me migrating from BizTalk directly, or do I need to tweak some stuff?
So, I mean, you're bringing great questions, right? And just as a reminder for folks who are not really familiar with Logic Apps, we are a cloud hybrid-based service that helps orchestrating AI workflows, integrating business processes and applications and data across hybrid environments in a visual manner, right? So that means, yeah, there is a lot of words in this paragraph. Basically, we are an integrator and an orchestrator across hybrid environments, and um, but but we already had this capability of connecting with Azure Logic Apps as a PaaS service to connect on premises and in the cloud.
Hmm.
But we heard our customers that they were needing more of an on-premises solution, and but we have BizTalk Server. So there are a lot of customers that are still using BizTalk Server,
Yes.
and that's a reality, right? So then
Hmm.
we decided to provide something that was closer for them, while keeping the personality or the capabilities, the cloud-based capabilities of Logic Apps, but also incorporating some on-premises scenarios that I think a lot of the BizTalk customers will be interested in.
But you are showing some icons there, and like as I'm familiar with them, but I'm just like trying to deliver some questions that I personally also got and been answering too. Like there is a lot of other components that's involved in this, and like is it do I need as a BizTalk developer now? I have been working for the past maybe 10, 15 years with BizTalk only. Do I really need to be expert on all of those things?
That's a great question. So, not really. No, I think I mean, Logic Apps has always been part of Azure Integration Services as a service, as a group of services in the cloud. But the reality is that not every single Azure Integration Services are running on premises, right? You have to adapt in on premises scenarios. So that's why we list a number of technology alternatives, and we'll talk through them. To your question about the skilling, and I think that's a great question. I think from for a VSTOC developer, VSTOC is already it has a higher learning curve. Right? It takes
Yeah.
some time to digest the VSTOC concepts. You know that, right? Not only the patterns. I mean, the patterns are a good portion, but it's also
Mm.
the concept around all of the messaging artifacts and everything in a self-contained environment that runs on a virtual machine. Well, so I think if you are fine with VSTOC, you will do great with Logic Apps, right? Because Logic Apps is um, you know 15 to 20 years in technology make a lot of difference, and we are seeing
Yeah,
that with AI as well.
exactly.
imagine,
Yeah.
imagine that. So then, Logic Apps is a product that was shipped 16 years later than BizTalk, right? So then there are 16 years out of improvements and great
Mhm.
capability and simplicity also in a lot of the things on how we can do things in integration.
And a lot of experience also from the team who built this have been like in BizTalk since BizTalk existed. Like you yourself are like one of like the oldest guys, like the old gang who've been working with BizTalk as well. So it's
Exactly. No, no, you're spot on. I think we try to make things different with Logic Apps, but keeping the essence of an integration platform.
mm,
Now, one thing to mention that is worth mentioning is that I was telling you about running on premises. You were asking about these icons or these technologies that we have here on the on premises side. So while we have a solution in the cloud, on premises, we have to adapt
mm,
to the customer's messaging alternatives, such as using RabbitMQ or Confluent Kafka or ActiveMQ or JMS, right? Or
yeah,
IBM MQ instead of Service Bus, for instance, right? That is still not running on premises. It's not running on premises. So then, for these patterns like Envoy, for instance, you need some sort of messaging, right? So then we decided to add connectivity to these alternatives.
mm,
And a lot of the things that we've done with BizTalk, and you are also spot on the fact that the team who is building these extra capabilities for BizTalk customers is a BizTalk server team. So the BizTalk server team is the one that has been helping and providing these capabilities that provide some degree of feature parity between BizTalk server and Logic Apps, right? And I think that is essentially because we've been very intentional in
mm,
making the jump. um, we've been very intentional in saying, hey, listen, we should become the best alternative for customers using BizTalk to come to our platform, right? So because we can do it, right? Because we own both products and we know what the gaps were and we know what we can do, what we can adapt, to a
so
service like
it's
this.
not one-to-one mapping of features. It's more inspired, and we are like trying to now modernize what's been there into the
You
new
know,
world.
exactly. So and it's about the way how you use BizTalk today as well, right? I mean, some customers they even use it because they wanted to exchange data, right? They say,
Mm,
no, I find it that I don't want to use SSIS. I want to use BizTalk to move data. It's an odd case, but it happens,
yeah.
right? And there are some other customers who actually did a lot of coding and choose BizTalk to store code. So then it makes a lot of sense to reuse the code, the custom code that they have, and there are some other customers that are fully vested in the orchestration design, and they do a lot of orchestration work. And I think this opens the door for customers to reimagine their solution and refactor into a more modern platform. I will be talking specifics about migration, but real quick, why hybrid
Yeah.
and why semi disconnected? We thought about local processing. We
Mm,
are no longer in the world of shipping CDs like in the past. There you go. This is your CD. This is a service pack and everything. So we stopped doing that a while ago, right? But then we said, well, is there a way for us to provide something closer to what Vistock does? And yes, we thought about local processing for regulatory compliant financial services scenarios,
mm,
healthcare. Some healthcare customers run on premises, utilities as well, and Vistock migration, of course. And then but we have the Azure hybrid concept in mind, right? Azure first deployments. We really we are firmly believers that in today's world we have the cloud and we have AI and AI data centers and everything, right? I mean, it's not just an option, right? I mean, it's
no.
the way forward. So that's why our recommendation was to be selective on the workloads that will be running on premises. We have Logic Apps. If you can go to the cloud, that's fantastic, right? It's a simpler to manage model and everything, right? But if you have to run on premises, you have to be very selective. We will be providing, or we are providing unified management, so you can manage everything through the portal. And as far as where to deploy, you have proximity to your key line of business systems if they are on premises. As I mentioned, the example of utilities, and provide also multi-cloud strategies or ISVs, hosted solutions.
Mm,
So an increasing number of scenarios for hybrid.
yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Thank you. And
Now,
uh,
yes, go ahead.
yeah, no, you go ahead.
So, yeah, what I was going to, I think it's worth mentioning is that as this is running in all of these different on-premises, private clouds, or public or even public cloud scenarios with a Kubernetes-based infrastructure. We have a different costing model, right? So this costing model is uses a virtual per CPU hour CPU per hour,
Yeah.
right? Cost. So then it also allows you to grow as you want, in an environment that you own with a firm costing model that is based on the capacity and allocation of resources, right? I think it's also worth mentioning that um, we have the control plane in the cloud and the data plane on premises. So that means that this is semi-disconnected, right? So all of your operations under runtime will continue operating regardless of your connectivity to the cloud. So if you lose connectivity to Azure for a few days, you are okay. Your runtime will continue working, but you need at some point to connect to the control plane, via
Yes,
Arc.
it's a trade-off of what is that choice, because yeah, if you need to adapt to this kind of security, I think it's compliance. We are talking about you need to be on prem because of some regularity you have, I think, and that's answering that. And it's also that's another proof that your data doesn't leave your local data where like house or
Exactly. Your data is always on-prem, right? And even when we exchange logs, when we send traces and logs and traces, we don't send data. We only send billing information. So how your CPUs are being used in your platform, so then we know how much to charge for the environment. But that's the only information that it's sent, right? Anything that you are exchanging on premises, in a secure environment, it's a secure environment. And so that was
but
something
the
that was
cloud
very
also
advantageous.
you can close it up there because it's still closed environment even if it's in Azure. I believe because you can have your security measure. It's like amazing security features out there now, so it's not that
Yeah,
open, I would say.
no, absolutely, absolutely. And I think these days, yeah, there are air gap environments for which we can talk briefly about. But a lot of the customers they only work. They worry most about the data, that the data
Mm.
doesn't leave, and latency as well, right? I
Yeah,
mean, for I had a customer that literally said, "I don't want to do the triangle." What do you mean the triangle? The triangle. An on-premises system here, another on-premises system there, and then going to the cloud to exchange data, which it makes a lot of sense. You don't want to do it. I mean, that's an not
yes.
recommended and anti-pattern on everything. Um, but I think this is very spot on for these scenarios, and aligned to that, and there are a number of concepts. Just at a high level, I won't be drilling down on the details of each one of them. But when using a hybrid, we do use Arc, and there are some concepts like the connected cluster concept, the cluster extension, a custom location. So these are artifacts that help to project your resources in the cloud, so then the control plane know what is managing,
Yeah,
right? But this doesn't mean that the data, your line of business data, your business data is flowing across, right? There are a few other capabilities that we have added. I will be briefly speaking about those. I think we still have some minutes, so let me jump
yeah, we
into.
we do have mates. I've just like also this picture, this like this diagram describe everything there. uh,
Mhm.
yeah, but we can take the question later. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, yeah. So after that, right? So then we have hybrid, and along all of the alternatives that we have, multi-tenant, workflow service plan, app service, and hybrid. And in hybrid, you create the logic app. Now you will see you have the alternative to enter a SQL connection string, because one thing that is worth mentioning as well is that we are not using blob storage for this, because we are running on premises.
Yeah,
So then we use SQL Server instead for runtime purposes, and
which
for
is
artifact storage. Yes,
closer to BizTalk, I would say. I just want to say that because yeah,
exactly, and yes, exactly. You're right, and also for artifact storage we use an SMB location. So then you can have
mm,
a file server. You're going to use a cluster. Um, there are multiple ways to do this. I mean, there is a lot of experience running on premises, from customers, and some networking options. And once you have that, then you have Logic App is going to look exactly identical to what a Logic App in the cloud does. There
Mm.
are some additional options for managing, the containers where this is running and everything, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. But do you have any questions for me now?
No, no. I think it's good. It's as simple as you actually have been describing it. It's like BizTalk. You will be just having it somewhere in your on-prem.
In your, in your
And
environment.
yes, your
Hmm.
environment, and then it will be up. And yes, there we come to the orchestrator on orchestrator, because I think Kubernetes are orchestrators. They scale out and they also do things. So yes, please tell us more about
Exactly.
scalability.
No, no, no. Thank you. And yeah. So how is it different? Then there are a new. I'm gonna go through some of the core differences between Logic Apps and hybrid. We scale using KEDA, right? Because you are running in Kubernetes, so you can optimize your costing, and during peak usage, you can scale up to handle outbursts and bursts and peaks of demand, right? We provide an external scaler that work with the Kubernetes cluster, right? And there is a very nice article where you can see how this can be set up and configured, and this is fantastic for Kubernetes users, right? We also provide the ability to do zip deploy, so that means that you can now, in the past, we had the ability to deploy from VS Code
Mm.
using an path and everything. We no longer need that, right? So we have our own implementation for that in the cloud. So then you can just, this is a very streamlined process where you will be needing an app registration in the cloud, just to make sure that you have permissions to do the upload of the
Once
process.
you deploy your artifacts on the cloud, it will automatically be synced, and you will actually be able to see those files mirroring on your file share that you created as
Exactly.
prerequisites for this.
Exactly. Everything gets synced up, by after the deploy. And this leads us to this takes us to the SQL for runtime storage, right? So then,
Mm.
how is SQL used when I say runtime storage? Everything that if you run a workflow, everything that you see in the details, the input, the output, that information is coming from SQL. So that's why um, this is ideal for customers who are already familiar with using SQL Server. Typically, most of them are, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I probably one of the most used products. And yeah,
And
and
I
then
see an agentic loop also there that you
yeah,
can actually.
that exactly, and you can do that on premises, right? I mean, you can do that. That's exactly the demo. When I show hybrid, I always show hybrid doing agentic from a Kubernetes cluster, on premises, so that you can do that. And then when you have your local models, you can do that as well, right? So it's it's a universe of scenarios and
Yeah,
possibilities.
I love it because it makes you, if you are actually migrating and you are using this deployment, you're not gonna miss on the AI train.
Exactly, exactly.
You can just switch it on.
Quite the opposite, I mean,
Yeah.
try to do this with stock is tough. OpenTelemetry, right? So we don't have open insights on premises, but we have OpenTelemetry, right? So there is OpenTelemetry implement. We support hotel endpoints, and then we currently support logs, but the team is developing support for traces as well. So that should be available very soon, right? And this is essential, right? Because a lot of the customers they have their own hotel implementations and on premises, and the data doesn't have to flow to the cloud, right? I mean, that's sort of up to you, right?
Observability is important. Yeah.
Now, one thing worth mentioning as well is that the messaging that I was mentioning at the beginning of this presentation, you have hybrid connectivity with IBM MQ, and we do that in Logic Apps standard in the cloud as well, right? You can do that, anywhere. I won't go through the details of this because I want to jump into the VSTOC part.
Yeah.
There is also the Confluent Kafka connector that we recently added as well, and it's amazing the usage of it. Like it was just shipped a few in public preview a few I think a couple of months ago probably, right? And but the usage has skyrocketed, right? Of this connector, a lot of streaming scenarios
And it would
and then
be really useful for the multi-cloud scenarios, and if you are using Apache. that's gonna be a way to go.
Exactly, exactly. There is the RabbitMQ as well, RabbitMQ 1, right? That it's
Mm.
also, it has some great usage as well, and it's available as well. And I will be showing a short demo soon of how this is integrated as well. And there is JMS as well. So we had some customers asking for JMS support because they want to leave other legacy platforms and other products in the market for integration, and they said, "Hey, give me a way to interact with JMS-based systems," and we did, right? So, but right now this is in private preview. It's a pair request only, right? We're assessing some scenarios, and it will be public preview very soon. And finally, a comment that I wanted, there is this common question set of common questions that we can ask. How does semi-connected mean? What is semi-connected? Okay, I understand data plane and control plane, but essentially, what does it mean?
Yeah.
For connectors, for networking, for triggers and actions, logs and traces, and disconnection. I think most of it is very similar to a standard running in its own environment, right?
Mm.
The built-in connectors, they work the same as in the standard. And managed connectors require Azure connectivity. So you have to be mindful of the type of connector that you use, because if you use a managed connector, it has to go through the cloud. So then that defeats the purpose of
Yeah.
being running on premises. Custom built-in connector is not available because um, we focus more running on built-in connectors that run on your own environment. As far as
Yeah, but you
network,
can have local functions and you can do some stuff with those.
you can do local functions, absolutely. Yes, you
Yeah.
can do local functions. So there is no limit on as to how you want to do coding on Logic Apps. As far as networking, I think one great benefit is that,
Mm.
for instance, when I enter property, when I if I integrate from the cloud to an on-premises MQ server, IBM MQ server, for instance, I have to create a VNet, I have to create a secure channel with express route and everything because it's hybrid. Well, it's going from the cloud to on-premises, but when I'm running hybrid on-premises and I need to integrate with an on-premises system, I don't have to do any of that because the network goes through the cluster networking, the Kubernetes cluster environment and networking capability. So then it means that it will just recognize any IP. So there will be name resolution and everything, because you are running on premises, like the same way
Yeah.
how you do, anything on premises from your workstation. So I think that's a benefit, right? Because it reduces complexity on networking, hybrid networking, right? Triggers and actions, same as a standard, and logs and traces, OpenTelemetry for logs, as I mentioned, and during disconnection, log data is cached locally and sent to the cloud upon reconnection.
But for
Uh,
quick question about this slide, and then we can move on. Like the disconnection, um, like the emergency mode, or like in today's version of Logic App Hybrid, how long can it stay offline? Do we have an approximate?
Well, you know what? Let's put it in this way, right? I mean, the runtime runs isolated from the control plane. You can run forever.
Yeah.
You don't make changes to your system on premises, right? And the challenge is that after a few days, the Arc agent will have some issues in determining in trying to sync a state between both environments. Because
Mm.
remember, still there are some security boundaries that have
Yeah,
to
of
be
course.
configured. So then after a few days, you can leave the control plane more on an unstable state. So that's why we don't recommend staying disconnected more than a few days. But the runtime will not go down. The other thing is that, well, a couple of reasons why you also need to have your agent connected is one is you will get the latest bundles, of course, right?
Mm.
That's the thing. You will have the latest and greatest of Logic Apps. And two, because you cannot really do granular operations. You don't have access to the portal. If you don't have access to the portal, you cannot make changes to your Logic Apps. It's like having a service that is running in the container, right?
Yeah,
And
and
it
if
works.
it's like if throttling or anything, you will not have any control.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Or if you want to make changes to an endpoint, if you want to make changes to the workflow and everything, you cannot do any of that because you don't have access. You won't see the logic app, the hybrid logic app in in the portal, right? So that's why you want to be connected, right? And for control plane operations,
Yes.
it's just that.
Yeah. Thank
Um,
you. I know that we don't have much time left, and I know that you have a tight schedule, so we can.
Let me jump into the BizTalk part.
Yeah.
There are some performance recommendations. I will be sending you the link as well. There is a great article for performance that you can take on, right, and take a look too. And now let's get into BizTalk server to hybrid. Um, I think it's essential to share that these timelines have not changed, right? So
Mm.
you have a mainstream end date of April 2028. You have an extended end date of April 2030. That means that we are encouraging customers to migrate to Logic Apps, right? I think customers, I'm sure the customers will shop around, will look for alternatives. So that's why we continue working on making the product the best alternative for them. We'll try to be cost effective while bringing as many VStock server capabilities to the product, right? And that is essential for us. Um, Now, this is from a timeline perspective. Now, from a mapping perspective, so I try to create a map because I like maps. I like to give a reference to customers so then they can they
This is
can use
updated
the.
picture. Yeah, I like this one.
And this is for hybrid. Yes, this is for hybrid, and
Yeah.
and and yes, so like if you are running a VStock orchestration, we recommend you to for the equivalent to be a Logic App workflow. You can again. So this is assuming that you take the features that we provide in Logic Apps and in other Azure integration services as they are, right? Sometimes customers they decide to re-engineer solutions or
Mm.
or them in different ways. But from a Logic Apps product group perspective, this is what we recommend.
Yeah.
This is a Microsoft recommendation. Sorry. Now, in orchestrations, yes, you have the workflow for enterprise application integration. You have the connectors, right, and the core Logic Apps capabilities. And you have for SOAP, we interact with API management, and now we know that API management can run on premises as well. I think there
Mhm.
is a way to run it on premises, or you can use any other software for managing WSDL and SOAP endpoints, or you can we also have a connector for API management, and I think
Yeah,
that's something
that's
that
like, yeah, exactly. For those who didn't work with it before, it's like if you have been publishing receive ports to IIS in BizTalk to connect outside, that's exactly what you're gonna be doing here, but in a more modern way. Yes, it will be different and feel different, but it will
Mhm.
be serving the same uh, functionality.
Exactly. No, you're spot on, and well, I mean, I can continue, but I'm gonna be jumping across boxes, right? For durable messaging, we have the stateful capabilities,
Yeah,
helper functions. You can add custom code and extensibility. We provide inline code from the designer, so you can incorporate pieces of code in the portal, in the designer in the portal, right? Or you can use local functions, as you said, right? For configurations, I think we have increased the alternative because now you can use SQL Server, you can use Kubernetes config maps. You can do things that belong to Kubernetes, and you can do things that belong to the realm of SQL Server.
yeah.
Um, a feature that I love, the rules engine, right? I love this feature because
Yeah,
it's
me
one
too.
of those it's close to my heart. The rules engine because first of all, the history of it. It comes from BizTalk server, right? And it's an actual rules engine. It's deterministic, and I actually have a couple of customers that are using it use it as guardrails for AI ingestion. So then,
Okay,
they use the agent loop, and then they use the rules engine to just make sure that
that's
there are.
interesting. Yeah, that's creative. It's a good way to use it. Actually, I didn't think of that, but yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, they so I put together some demo and they liked it and they are making it even more advanced. So I think a great opportunity can run on premises as well. There is Swift and the Swift MP support, and also we are working on HL7, providing HL7 support, right? And I think that is HL7 was one of the feature gaps we had with BizTalk, right? We're working actively working on incorporating it. So then we will be sharing a survey with the field to see who is interested in testing the HL7 and MLFP capabilities.
That one is required also here in Sweden a lot. I like there is questions about it with the health care sector. They really interested in this.
Now there is no excuse. They can use it. They can use hybrid. They can use MLLP. We are providing it, and along with all of the other features for extensibility and reusing artifacts from BizTalk, right? Data transformation, as you're aware, that we have the data mapper and the Logic Apps XML operations. We are shipping them as generally available very soon as well. A lot of things that we will be shipping. Number of features in Ignite.
Mm.
Async messaging, as you saw, all of the connectors that we have available today, right? And many other features that are available. Let me jump into management and monitoring. We have OpenTelemetry now, and Logic Apps Azure integration
Okay.
environments, which we are
Okay.
also actively working to ship as GA. So this is at a high level a map. So this is not necessarily to be taken in a prescriptive manner, right? This is to be taken as a recommendation, for you to do. If you see all of the blue boxes, the blue boxes that we have here, they are native to Logic Apps, right? So
Mm.
then you see that's why part of the messaging of BizTalk migration to Logic Apps resonates better than moving BizTalk to Azure integration services that are not even available on premises for hybrid,
But
right? So
also, Asher, it's about using the right tool in the right scenario. Then this is a good recommendation. And then if you don't want, if you make, you can start. It's a good startup back, and then maybe you can go ahead and if you want a more complexity, you can just start to maybe widen your services. So you don't have to
exactly.
go all in from the beginning, which is going to make your journey a little bit shorter. I would love to have, since we don't have much time, I know that you have the meeting after, but like what I would like to jump into the every box of those and just make a series about each box and discuss it separately so we can uh,
Absolutely,
try
absolutely.
to see.
We're happy to do that. There is a survey that I hope you can be sharing, which is we're getting
Yeah,
we're
sure.
getting way more information about this because it shows we are asking customers, BizTalk customers, to tell us, hey, listen, what's the gap? What do we? And we are measuring also, how is it that they're using our current features, right? Because um, I started running the survey I think 2 years ago,
Mm,
right? So then we'll be capturing a lot of entries, and then it's interesting to see that a lot of the things that they've been asking, we've been shipping already, right? And then they are using it. They are using it, and that's a fantastic thing to see.
that's good to hear.
Um, what resources do I have available? So I will be sharing a list of resources as well, in the chat with you later. But basically, prerequisites: any Arc-enabled Kubernetes cluster, right? SQL Server, SMB, file share, and you're done. So you can do that. If you want to use hybrid in the Arc agent and configuration in any of the regions that is not listed here, then we're happy to work with the team to enable it, given the right business case and the right scenario. But and there are scripts. There are scripts, one for the deployment and the other one for troubleshooting. So you can use any of both, right? Depending on the situation. I have a short demo. You want me to share it? I
If
think
you
it
have
takes.
time, or we
Yes,
can.
I still have time. Yes. So let me.
Great.
I think one comes with audio. This is a BizTalk use case, right? You
Mm,
see this implemented a similar workflow implemented in Logic Apps Hybrid.
yeah.
In this demo, we have an employee onboarding use case that was built in BizTalk Server, and we would like to move it to the Logic Apps hybrid deployment model. In this employee onboarding process, we will take BizTalk artifacts like maps, schemas, and .NET Framework custom code and run this solution in Logic Apps Standard, running on customer-managed infrastructure. Here we have a Logic Apps hybrid instance, and we can tell based upon the custom location and connected environment. In the left navigation panel, we will also discover some familiar menu items, including schemas, maps, and custom assemblies. In addition, we also have container settings that can be modified to meet our scaling needs. In our schemas folder, we will find XSD files from BizTalk. In the maps folder, we will find our XSLT file that also comes from BizTalk. Lastly, we have our custom .NET Framework assembly that will be called from our data transformation. Let's now head into our workflow to see our implementation. Our workflow will process employee change requests and will begin with an HTTP trigger. From there, we will call our data transformation map that was uploaded from BizTalk. Here we can also see the XML extension object metadata that will allow for the scripting functoid to find our custom assembly. After our data transformation, we will use the schema from BizTalk to validate our output message. We can also use the new XML parse with schema action that will allow us to use the XML elements in our Azure connectors. Historically, we would have had to use XPath statements to extract these values. We will now insert these values into Dataverse using that connector. Once we have completed communicating with Dataverse, we will send a response back to the caller. Let's now use Postman to send an XML request into our workflow. Notice our employee ID does not contain leading zeros. After our workflow runs, we can see that our employee ID now contains leading zeros, which is an indicator that our custom code was executed correctly. As we can see, our Dataverse instance has been updated successfully. Let's now go check out our run history to see exactly how our workflow executed all of the required steps. Much like Logic Apps that runs in Azure, we have full access to our audit trail. The difference is that this information is coming from the customer's SQL Server instead of Azure Storage. Here we can see all of the inputs and outputs, including the leading zeros being added to the employee ID field. That concludes our demo on using artifacts from BizTalk in Logic Apps hybrid deployment model.
So
That's
I think I have more demos, but I think in the interest of time, I think this is something that we can resume some other
but
day.
that was a really good also to demonstrate how can you take also the old components that you have there and you can move it to the logic app.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I think yeah, we are encouraging customers to use hybrid instead of BizTalk Server, to migrate
Uh-huh.
from BizTalk to hybrid when they cannot go to Logic Apps standard. Some customers have been asking for a migrator tool, and I think it's a fair ask, right? I think we have a challenge by creating migrations, and we're exploring doing something like that with AI now, an AI assistant. But that's something that it's
But
still in exploration.
do we need the migrator tool or do you need to modernize your patterns and your flows? That's what I was like. I think
You know,
we can.
you're right. You're right. You're right. So I think the the reality is that every customer is different. They bring their own solutions and stories and constraints as well, right? I mean, some of them have more visual developers than others. Some others, they have one person managing the entire visual environment, and I think that's also the
Yeah,
reason
yeah,
why.
it's time consuming. Yeah, okay, yes, that's maybe. Yeah, but like an idea out there before we round this up, maybe I got just inspired now. Maybe it will be a good to have an AI tool that if you give it an integration scenario, it will and give it the pattern how it's built in BizTalk now. It will give you best practice according to the available technologies on Azure now as a recommendation, so you can follow this pattern. Maybe that would be
Exactly. Oh no, exactly. That's a great idea, and that's something that we are exploring now, right?
already. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we are exploring that already, and but again, so I won't be sharing any details yet because that's something that is still being discussed, designed, right? So
Yeah.
I will, as a last message, I will probably say that I really encourage customers to go to Logic Apps, either standard or hybrid, right? I think our approach is always cloud first. So go to Logic Apps standard, run in the cloud if you can, move your workloads there because everything is managed for you.
Hmm.
But when you go to hybrid, you have to manage your own environment, which may be okay, right? But it's still, it's one more step that you have to do, right? You own your infrastructure. There are some benefits associated to that, right? But that in the end is going to be a result of a business need.
Yes, it's regulation that stand you. So thank you, Harold, for being for giving us this time, and I really appreciate your the information that you gave us. It's a lot of information, so please, people, just go back and reward a lot of things if you want to watch it again. And thank you for
Thank you so much, Ahmed, for having me here, and as always, it's always a pleasure,
And
to
we
speak
have
with you.
we still on our talk. We might make a series about each box of BizTalk between BizTalk and Logic Apps. That would be a good idea.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that should happen. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.